And I was like, I want to do that. And I said to myself, I can do that. And I can do that around the world.
It's almost slightly serendipitous with you and Palmer earlier on in your career, kind of like now with COVID, you being at home is it's forced you to create this path and channel of your business that may now be the future of your business.
Yeah, of course. If you don't believe in us, cool, no problem. We believe in ourselves, and that's enough. So
does it not spur you on though when you get a little bit of that negativity back?
100%. Listen,
it gets me every time.
It gets me every time. Bro, I had knockbacks. I've had knockbacks. You know, and I say it every time. Every setback is a setup for a comeback.
And that was massive. I mean, for them to pick barbers, because they could have picked into any industry, and they wanted to start with barbershops. I thought that's a great example, indication as to how important we are in that community.
The more you learn, the more you earn. It's that simple. Yo,
Mr. Josh.
What's going on?
What's going on? Hey. 1 second. Sorry, guys. I'm just turning off the comments. 2 secs. I'm good. Thank you very much, dude. Thank you so much for joining on.
All good, man. All good. How's it going?
What? Good, man. Like, hair's getting long. Yeah, I had to tie it back. Mate, you know what? Just for you, the first interview I've ever done with a hairband on. So it's a special one.
To be fair, I just gave myself a trim up, so I'm all right.
That's nice. Actually, it's not too bad, you know.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
I might join into your how-to videos and do mine later.
Yeah, I've been doing it myself for 15 years, so hopefully it's all right.
Man, you're putting us out of business. What's wrong with you? Well,
right.
let me kick.
Can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? All good?
Absolutely fine. You can hear me, right?
Wicked. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Let's kick off properly. That was a really good start, by the way. I never start off like that. All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Hot Talks. Today, in the hot seat and the hot video cam, we have Josh Lamonaca. I don't think, like I put in my preview, I don't think we've got anything too much to say about him other than stuff that you don't know already. He's obviously part of the Menspire brand. Huge educator, huge influence on the industry as a whole. Thanks for joining us, Josh.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome, man. It's a pleasure having you. So, we've got a lot of excitement with you coming on, of course. Got quite a few questions to get through. But let's start off, I think, with your story. I mean, I've heard a little bit of it before. I know you didn't obviously go straight into barbering. In fact, didn't you start off in something completely different to do with sports, and then you jumped into barbering?
Yeah,
tell us a bit more about that.
So I started cutting hair and becoming interested in hair when I was 15 years old. And, you know, I love my journey. I really enjoy telling it every single time because, you know, I believe that I've had such an incredible journey thus far. You know, that it always excites me to remind myself of, you know, how it came about. So I started cutting hair when I was 15 years old, and how I started cutting hair was because I saw my brother take a trimmer and he started doing like lines and stuff in people's eyebrows and hairs to his friends. And I was like, you know, when you're young, you kind of just copy what your older brother does. So I started doing that to my friends and stuff. And eventually I finished school at 15 and went into a sports and exercise science course with a football scholarship. So as you can imagine, being around a lot of teammates and being, you know, heavily involved in football, I always had people there that I could try stuff on. So between 16 and 18, being in this course for 2 years, I started cutting all my teammates' hair in the training room or before the match, giving people shape-ups. And, you know, that's how I kind of became very, very friendly with, you know, cutting hair. And of course, with the teammates that I had, we had Afro hair, we had Caucasian hair, we had all types of hair. And eventually, after the 2 years in the football scholarship, I eventually decided, you know what, I want to get a qualification in barbering, just in case football doesn't work out. So when I got to college, I went to a local college, and I was mentored by Steve Campbell, Craig Bennett, who were you know, incredible Afro barbers, and also the head of the department at the college, Paul Mills, who was a fantastic disciplinarian. Yeah. And so I was 18 at the time, and I'd already had like a couple of years sort of self-taught experience. And once I started to really, you know, make my way into the barbering course, towards the end of it, I started to understand that people were coming towards me for help in the class. Obviously, it's you know, when you're at college, it's a big class and there's only one teacher. And I will never forget this feeling that I had once I was able to, you know, put information onto another fellow student. And it was so rewarding, you know, internally, that I kind of felt that, you know, potentially I could go into teaching. And this was at a very, very, very early stage. I was 18 years old. So eventually I went on another year at the same college, and I decided to take up hairdressing. And it wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do, but the head of the department, Paul Mills, said to me, you know, Josh, why don't you do it? You're clearly talented in barbering. Why don't you just go and try hairdressing for a year? We can move the units over, so you don't have to do 2 years. You can just do 1. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it out. And, you know, the first 3 months I struggled. You know, it was terrible. I really didn't enjoy the
blow drying.
The blow drying. I mean, that really nailed me off.
It's always guys in the beginning of hairdressing. I was the same in my class. Everyone's a bit like, what the hell, blow dry?
Bro, I couldn't work it out. I had a brush, I had the hair dryer. Somehow I had to handle the hair into the. I couldn't work it out at the beginning. You know, and it destroyed me. You know, and where I had this kind of now 3 years experience, I became student of the year in the barbering course. So where I kind of at a young age, building up these skills and this ego, all of a sudden I just got crushed by not knowing what to do in women's hair. And I was like, you know what? There is so much more to learn. And I know I will never forget this feeling, because it travels with me even to this day. The fact that you will not know everything. And there is a possibility of always learning something from someone, anyone. And that will always stick with me. And
can I ask you something on that, just because I don't want to lose it?
Yeah,
you know, you said you got student of the year before you got into that hairdressing part, right?
That's right.
Barbering. Because I had something very similar. And did you find that because you had that, you were given that student of the year kind of accolade, and you went into hairdressing and all of a sudden you're struggling a little bit, did that kind of push you even more so to be like, I can't not be good at this, I'm always going to let everyone down that kind of thought I was good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean by that?
I think that discipline comes from being heavily involved in sport. Look, if you're involved in sport, you're highly competitive. So when I was knocked back by this feeling of the fact that I'm not competent in something, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to quit, because I'm not raised a quitter. I don't quit. And that led me eventually to continue doing the rest of the course, finish the year. And by the end of the year, one of the teachers that was on the hairdressing course that I was on was a manager of the Hob salons in Mill Hill. And
I know it, yeah.
The head of the department said to me, you know, why don't you go and shadow this gentleman? And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. You know, 1 day a week, voluntary, went up there off my own back and just watched him cut hair and swept up for him, whatever he needed. And it was fantastic. I'd never seen anything like it at the time. I was like, wow, this is so precise. I've never seen someone cut hair, long hair, so well.
Do you remember what year this was, or roughly?
Yeah. So by this time, I was 20 years old.
You're 20, okay.
And so I finished the college at 19, 20, and eventually I was flat out 7 days a week. I did 3 days at college. I did 1 day shadowing. I did 3 days cutting the hair at home. Oh, sorry, two at home and 1 day in the barbershop, which was Saturday. So I was immersed in hair for 7 days a week. And, you know, at the time, when you're young, you've got no kids or whatever, you know, it's easy.
Yeah. But
not everyone does that at the time. And that's where I think a huge part of the success that I have now has come from. The fact that there are so many hours been in input into what we've done really does create that sense of the 1 or 10,000 hours rule. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I ended up working for Hob Salon because they saw the men's work that I had. I used to carry this, before social media occurred, I used to carry this portfolio. And this portfolio would be a range of images that I'd taken on my Nokia, and I'd print them up at the computer, flip them into my portfolio. And I used to just carry this thing everywhere. And of course, as well, with my clients, it was a great reference to show, you know, do you want this haircut, this haircut? Because I remember being in the barbershop when I was 13, 14 and thinking, nah, these haircuts they're crap.
We all had the same ones as well in all the windows. It was like generic.
all the same ones. And I was, although I was inspired by it, because I thought I could create my own book. You know, this own manual of haircuts that I could possibly show my clients. So once the guys at Hobbs saw that, they was intrigued and said, you know, well, if we take you further in your hairdressing career, would you like to have a job? Of course,
Nice.
I said yes, no problem. So I started to train up at the Academy in Camden, and it was fantastic. The educators there were great, education system fantastic, and I ended up working for them for about 3 to 4 years. Eventually, making my way up to the Southgate salon, and
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I worked with a woman called Bobby in Mill Hill, and she went to make her own franchise in Southgate. And at the time, being in Mill Hill, I found it difficult because my father was really, really ill. So I wanted to be in St Albans more, just in case anything was to happen. And I went to have a trade test at the St Albans hub, and again, I actually got knocked back. I got told I wasn't good enough. And you know, it was really, really frustrating. But at the same time, I was like, you know what, that's cool. I'm gonna leave it all together. I'm gonna focus on men's hair. But eventually, I got called up by Bobby and went into the Southgate salon, and was the kind of the men's stylist, the one that does the men's hair. And ultimately, the reason why I got into hairdressing was because I wanted to develop in women's hair. However, I became a victim of my own success in Southgate, and I was doing sort of 80% men's hair and 20% women's. So I was doing, you know, 9 o'clock till 8 o'clock in the salon, doing 80% men's hair, and I would come home, and at 9 o'clock till midnight, I was doing my own clients. So I was just absolutely immersed. I would leave the house at 8 o'clock, and I wouldn't stop until midnight, more or less, you know, and I was totally immersed, you know. So eventually, I made my way up to like the creative ambassador of the salon trainer, and that's where I kind of refound my passion for teaching. I was teaching the assistants.
Was this at Hobbs Southgate?
Hobbs Southgate, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, as I started to do more and more men's work inside the salon, you know, I said, you know, why don't we get a barber chair in here? We could do some shaves. This is what I'm capable of. We could help increase the men's market and the awareness within the brand. But of course, as we know, it's a really, really strong hairdressing brand. And at the time, it wasn't something that they wanted to focus on. And I understood, but also at the same time, I understood that that was a factor limiting my growth and where I wanted to go. Because I remember when I was 18 and I first went to Salon International, and man, it was just glorious. I was seeing people on stage, different stages, you know, people like Chris Foster as well. And I was like, I want to do that. And I said to myself, I can do that. And I can do that around the world. But I could only do that if I make myself do that. And at the time where I was, the reason why I went to a hairdressing company was because I was working in my garage beforehand.
Yeah.
My grandmother's garage. And I realized that in order for me to get like visibility, in order for me to get some kind of high reputation, I wasn't going to do it working in a garage, because social media at the time was non-existent. And the only way that you could get into a magazine or a, you know, company was by being with a strong company. And eventually it was just like another limitation, you know, another knockback. And I eventually said to myself, you know what, I want to go into teaching. Maybe that's where I'll get known. Maybe that's where I'll get a little bit more visibility. So I ended up working for the Hair Project in Shoreditch, which was a school for, you know, MVQ level 2, 3 students, barbering and hairdressing. And I went there under the impression that, you know, these guys, because I saw them on stage and I approached them and said, you know, how do you do it? How can I get where you are? And eventually I ended up working with them thinking this might be the break. You know, at this time I'm 22 now. I'm 22, 23. 23, I think, 23. And I got made redundant.
What, from the Shoreditch place?
Got made redundant 3 or 4 months. And again, I was just like, look, I've just created a barbering curriculum for them for a 2-day workshop. And I thought to myself, nah, I'm 23 years old. I've been trying to get this team for 5 years, and I thought that was a long time. I thought that was enough time. And you know, after that, I thought to myself, I've got to do it myself. There was no Instagram.
No.
Twitter was only just about coming about. The only other way you could get recognition was by being in a magazine,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on the internet. And, you know, ultimately that was very, very difficult unless you're with a big product brand, a scissor brand, a clipper
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah, and the magazines really were predominantly way more hairdressing anyway. It wasn't really barber magazines.
Well, exactly. Unlike today, you know, look, you do
Yeah.
something cool on Instagram, you'll be in a magazine tomorrow. You know, we didn't have that 10 years ago. So the way that I was trying to make it or break it was, you know, insanely difficult. Until I decided for myself that the only way to do it is to go alone, but to build a brand. And fortunately at the time, one of my friends, my best pals, Samuel Palmer, was also had the same vision. So Sam started off in hairdressing and he started working for Sanriz. So
Oh yeah.
where he started in hairdressing, I started in barbering.
Yeah.
And where I started to become interested in hairdressing, Sam started to become interested in barbering. So we went to school together, but we weren't necessarily friends at the time. We were just with different sort of social groups. But as we started to leave school, we started to see each other dress our hair in a very similar way, to the point where we were understanding that, you know, this guy likes hair, I like hair. Eventually we didn't talk after school when a couple of years went by. And eventually I started to see this guy in magazines and I was like, nah, man, nah, this ain't right. Like, how I went to school with this guy? You know, that kind of envy. I went to school with this guy and he's in the Project X team. He's part of the young Schwarzkopf artistic team. And I'm just cutting hair in my garage. I've been to this company and I ain't getting jack. And
Sanriz was a good, strong brand for a short period,
strong,
man.
very strong. So you can imagine, I'm seeing this guy who I went to school with, and I'm seeing him in the limelight, winning competitions, and I was just like, nah, I know I've got something here. Like, I know I've got something. I've got loads of clients. They love my haircuts. Like, I've definitely got something I can share with the world. Like, why am I not getting this?
Go
So,
get it, man.
and so, you know, we got back in touch.
Yeah.
I was very complimentary of his work. He was complimenting of what I was doing. And we started to connect socially. And eventually we came to a point where we said, you know what, man, we are going to create something niche in our town. And this was 2012. We were both 23 years old, 24 years old. And, you know, eventually we decided that we're going to create this niche brand where you could have an appointment, you would have refreshments, you would have this really, really exciting male environment. And that didn't exist at the time. At the time, in 2012, it was just walk in barbershop, you wait for your turn, you read newspaper, you get your hair cut, that's it. There wasn't really a high-end feeling in our particular town. Maybe in London, cool, no problem, but not in Albans where we were.
Yeah.
And not of that which were doing cool haircuts, fashion-focused haircuts, trendy trims. You know what I'm saying? So we started to put a Twitter together from 2012, and we worked together without even owning a shop. We worked together on London Fashion Week as a duo, as a team, under the name of Menspire, which we had created. And
oh, so you didn't even have a shop at that point when you got Menspire?
But we began trading as a team at November 2012 when we, you know, arranged Company's House, etc.
Well, can I also ask on that, because when you joined together, so you had a huge Hob background. He obviously had a big influence from Sanriz. Now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So if you've got a strong background in Sanriz, obviously that's going to be kind of like the way you work. At Hob, the same. Your kind of ethos. You're definitely, without asking, you're going to be way more Sassoon than like Tony and Guy, kind of the way that you cut, the way your ethos is.
Yeah, yeah.
So Sanriz wouldn't have been. So was that a bit? Did you find that you're quite different though, because you're coming together with one brand technically, or was Sanriz actually quite similar?
Well, do you know what? In terms of the actual hairdressing, there's not a lot that can carry over into barbering, and this is something that I always get asked. You know, a lot of people ask me, should I go and do a hairdressing course if I want to improve my barbering? And unless you're going to cut 18 bobs a day, it's not going to make a tremendous difference. If you go to an organization or an institution that does great men's hair, that's what you need to learn from, you know. So between myself and Sam, there was great harmony because he wanted to learn more men's hair, which my background was the strongest because obviously I learned a lot of afro and fading. And, you know, I went to college in Luton. So in Luton, it's very, very multicultural. There's a lot of Asian, Afro, you know, and that's where I started at the deep end in terms of working with hair. That was extremely difficult. A lot of my friends were Asian. A lot of my friends were black. So I was able to have such a great head start on these very, very unusual textures. That meant that I'd have to learn very, very quick. So by the time I was doing more and more Caucasian hair, it became really, really easy. And with a strong background in barbering and Sam's strong background in hairdressing and all the beauty and the creativity, the fusion that we had, that we put into men's hair was super, super exciting at the time where it kind of didn't exist. Now it's absolutely rife. As expected, that's natural evolution. So we sat down in 2012 and we was having some lunch and we said, you know what, 2014, a couple of years, we're going to have a really, really nice shop. And we started the brand there, 2012. 2013 came, we were looking at properties, we found one property and we thought, right, this is it. It's right next to the station. It's huge. We could do sunbeds, we could do male grooming, we could do everything we want. And unfortunately, we didn't get the planning permission. So it got to about June and we were sat having a coffee in a coffee shop, and opposite the road where we was looking out, there was one shop available to let, and it was tiny. It was tiny, only a 4-man barber shop. And we squeezed 5 in there. You know, I mean, nowadays it would have been well illegal. But we squeezed it eventually because, you know, it was not what we wanted to begin with, but it was a start.
Yeah.
And it was the start that we needed to get off the ground, put my clients together, put his clients together, and get busy. I was cutting around 80 haircuts a week from my grandmother's garage. Sam was doing, you know, numbers similar. And with that pool of clients already, it meant that we were going to have a successful turnout. And that's when we started to hire people to then start taking a few of our clients off us so that it would allow us to sort of breathe and be the entrepreneurial, go down the entrepreneurial avenue of building salons, building people. So 2013, July, we found this unit and we thought, right, yeah, we're going to open up in September, you know, the end of summer. And of course, with no absolute shop experience, it surpassed September, October, November, December, January, and eventually 2014, you know, 7 months later, we eventually opened up the doors to the very, very first Menspire salon. And 6 years later, we have 13 salons and 2 academies.
13 salons?
13,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. We've got,
I thought it was, yeah.
We're in Ireland, Scotland, we're in Jordan, and we are in, what day is it today? Fourth.
Fourth.
Yeah, in 8 days' time, we're opening up in America.
Wow, congratulations. Whereabouts?
In Portland, Oregon.
Portland. Okay, watch out in Portland. For some reason, I get a really weird big American following. So yeah, watch out, Portland. Menspire's coming in. A cool place, by the way. Really cool place. I think that's a good move, Portland.
Have you been to Portland?
I haven't. I've done quite a lot of touring for work, barbering around the States. We didn't get to Portland, but I know a lot about it because of my tours when I was there.
Yeah,
so I heard.
Portland is sick, man. Love that place.
Oh, so you've been quite a bit, obviously. Yeah, it's cool.
I've been about 4 times, man.
Are both your academies in London?
So we have one in Dublin and one in Albans, Hertfordshire.
What about King's Cross one?
So King's Cross is salon.
Oh, okay.
King's Cross, we have a salon there, yeah.
That's not an academy. Okay.
Not an academy now.
Okay, so when you first opened, you got the shop. Was it quite simple just jumping in there? You found that shop, the semi-illegal one?
So it was an interesting process. It was a process that we had no experience before with, and you know, it was just time to learn. You know, we had no experience in business, and over the years, you know, we've developed into businessmen, if you like. But it was certainly difficult because we didn't know what we was doing, and hence why the building took so long, because we kind of didn't realize so many different things about a building, that we needed builders and this and that. It was a fascinating process, but we've certainly learned a lot from it. But it wasn't easy.
It never is, man. It never really is. Would you say, did you take on, you can answer as much or as little of this as you want, by the way. Did you take on investment as well when you were trying to grow it?
Good question, man. So we weren't really sure how much money we would need to open a salon. But when we were thinking about the big space that I spoke to you about earlier, we decided that maybe we're going to need a loan. And maybe we'll need a loan for about £50,000. So we decided to set up a meeting, set up a bank, and have a discussion with a bank manager. And I mean, I never had a reason to acquire a loan before ever. I mean, we sort of stepped in there a little bit naive and thinking, you know, we're going to talk to someone who's going to give us some money. We're going to start making a salon. Fantastic. And I thought the guy was a bit abrupt. His name was Nick. And he said, what's the loan for? And I was like, it's a barbershop. Sitting there all proud thinking, yeah, we've got this new concept, it's a barbershop. And he turned around and said, oh, okay, that's cool. But we've got loads of barbershops in the city, and I've actually just, not too recently, given 2 loans out to 2 barbershops. And I was like, oh, right. And then I thought, no, hang on a minute. We ain't building just a barbershop. We're building a brand.
Yeah.
And I turned around and said to him, I got a little cocky. I said to him, you know what? Let me ask you a question. I said, you know, where do you get your haircut? And he goes to me, you know what? I go to one of the guys that we loaned the money to, and it's a shop up on the high street there at the top. I said, okay, cool. When do you go? Do you have an appointment? He goes, nah, I just sort of walk in on my lunch break. And I said to him, okay, cool. And so I started getting confident in the back of my voice. I was like, okay, good. What happens if they're busy? You know what I mean? Maybe they've got a long waiting list, you know, a long queue. And he said to me, oh, well, yeah, obviously, yeah, it happens sometimes, yeah. I just go down to the other one. You know, I have to walk down, you know, it's only a 10-minute walk, but I managed to get there. I was like, all right, cool. So what happens then if you've got an hour lunch, you try and go to this barbershop and you walk to the other one, and what happens if they're busy too? He was like, well, obviously, you know, I just sort of have to come back to work, really. Yeah, so you've just wasted, you know, so much time. And I got my phone and I pulled up my list of appointments, and I showed him my appointment system, or not a system at the time. It was just simply notes on my phone. And I pulled it up and I said, look, this is what I do on a day. And I don't know what day, it was like a Thursday at the time. And obviously a Thursday in terms of cutting hair is obviously quite a big deal. So I flicked down to the bottom and said, look, today I've got 19 haircuts booked in. It's going to make me £560, fella. And I said, here's Friday, and here's Saturday, and here's Sunday. And I said to him, look, what we're trying to do is something different. The fact that we're building clients by appointment shows that we're going to have income by the end of the day, by the end of the week, by the end of the month. And I said to him, look, I want you to do me something. I want you to ring up these people that you gave loans to and say, you know what? How much money tomorrow are you going to earn? Are you subject to earn? And he said, well, yeah, obviously I can't do that because they don't know. They're only a walk-in service. Depends on the day. And I said, cool. If I said to you, look, these are my future appointments over the next 5 days, scroll down. I must have said something about like £1,100. And I said to him, well, how about that? You know, this is what we're doing. We're future-proofing our business by making sure that people have an appointment the same way that you're treated at a dentist, at solicitors, whatever. And you could see him sort of just pushing back into his chair sort of thing. And we was like, I sort of looked at Sam and thought, nah, I don't think we need this loan, bro. I think if we could scrape together £10,000 each, we'll be all right. So we left that meeting, man, and we was like, nah, man, Rocco, like, if you don't believe in us, cool, no problem. We believe in ourselves, and that's enough. So
Does it not spur you on though when you get a little bit of that negativity back?
100%. Listen,
It gets me every time.
I
It gets me
told
every
you,
time.
bro. I had knockbacks. I've had knockbacks. You know, and I say it every time. Every setback is a setup for a comeback.
Oh yeah, man, I'm with you.
And that is exactly what happened again. You know, again and again and again and again. And you know, we managed to scrape back £20,000 to do our first salon up, and within 18 months, it was time to leave. We outgrew it, and fortunately, 20 seconds down the road was a premises twice the size, and we had a decision to make. Do we do we stay small, or do we go and grow? And we eventually made the decision to go and make the investment, which was double. It was a £40,000 now that we had to invest, and we've done it. You know what I mean? And that's where we've been in the flagship of St. Albans since 2015 October. So that's a little insight to, you know, how we've overcome some difficulties and how we've used our belief system in order to get to right to the very, very beginning of our journey. And of course, since, you know, there's so much that's happened since. It's been incredible.
Yeah, well, the reason why I was asking is because I think it does come up sometimes when people are ready to expand and they're really small in the beginning.
Mm.
Should they go down the route of go and grab an investor, go try and get a loan from Nick, or try and do it organically? You know, do you have to go down the investment route to grow, basically? Do you have to? So, I mean, as a blanket, yes or no, do you have to?
Nah.
No, exactly. Yeah.
And if we're not a prime example of that, then I don't know who is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, if you need to get a loan to work with your idea, cool, no problem. As long as you believe in it, you know, and obviously pay that back, it's great. But you know, if you have the capital there available, then you know you just need advice from people. You don't need someone invested into your business because they see your idea as an opportunity to get money back from. That's not someone who has passion. That's someone who has intelligence. And we had someone saying to us, you know, look, I'll put the money up for you, and I'll be a silent partner, and I'll take 20%. And you know, eventually myself and Sam, after a couple of years, said, cool, blimey, imagine if we gave him 20%, and then we'd have to give the government 20% VAT, and not after that, we'll have to give corporation 20%. And oh, by the way, when we get personal tax, it's going to be 30 to 40%. Imagine. No way. If someone wants to invest into your business, they have to bring value, not just money.
Bring value, not just money.
Value, that's it.
Yeah, I like it, man. Well, so now obviously education is huge for you guys, if not in money sense, which it is, but I mean for brand in general. You do a lot of online stuff now, right? Online courses as well?
Yeah, it's starting to, yeah.
Cool. How do you feel about the market at the moment with online courses? Do you think we'll get to a point where it's too saturated, or doesn't really matter? Everyone do it. There's business for everyone.
You know
how many people?
I'm not entirely sure, because I don't think we've reached a point of anything right now. You know, I have been traveling around the world, delivering knowledge firsthand to audiences of up to 3,000 and classes from 1-to-1 to classes of 10. And it's been fantastic. And all the time in the while, I have been deep down trying to figure out how I can stay at home or with my family and still provide information and knowledge to the masses, because it's what I love to do. And I know that online education was definitely the root of that, but the time I was not getting, you know, it was request after request, country after country, and go and take the job. You know, whereas maybe I should have said, you know what, I'm going to take 2 months off. I'm going to build my online platform and I'm going to put it out there. Instead, what's happened now is we've been forced to be off. And now I'm in a position where I can't travel the world. You know, that's it, pretty much done for the year. And all I've got is online. But everyone else will be doing it now as well. So I haven't been able to, you know, get a head start as such. And you know what I think about it? I think it's absolutely okay. You know, it's absolutely okay. There's so many people out there who are rushing to do it. and that's absolutely fine. But you know, if you're in the lockdown and you're watching videos, you're learning, it's fantastic. It's a great tool for everyone. So when it comes to being saturated in the market, I don't know. We haven't experienced whether it's going to be saturated or not, you know. But kudos to everyone that has an online platform right now. It's, you know, it's definitely the smartest way going. And you know, as much as I love being personal with people, if you've ever seen me teaching, it's very very personal. Or even the classes that we've done, it's a personal feeling, and you can get something that you can't get online, and that is an energy. And an energy is something that you cannot recreate. And you know, physically in comparison to digitally, it's something that you cannot get without receiving it, you know, on a personal level, man.
I had that conversation with a big educator last week. He trains a huge amount of people, barbers, and he was kind of saying something very similar to that too.
Yeah.
Because I was asking him the question, can't you just do this online? And you know, we're going to restructure what he's doing at the moment. He said the same thing to me. So yeah, I hear that, man. But then you think it's funny. Almost like a bit of, it's almost slightly serendipitous with you and Palmer earlier on in your career. Kind of like now with COVID, you being at home is kind of, it's forced you to create this path and channel of your business that may now be the future of your business. Because you want to create that time to spend more time at home with your family if you want, or whatever. I mean, you know, it's not like you haven't worked hard before. So it's a smart way. It's evolving, right?
That's exactly it, man. That's exactly it, you know.
Don't want to stop growing.
It's like, look, there's a difference between knowledge and there's a difference between intelligence, you know, and knowledge is just the collection of skills that you have, the information, and that's acquired through experience. But the thing about intelligence is the ability to apply that knowledge, and that time has come now where you have everything there and you can apply it to being online, to be able to, and this is what I really love and really desire, is the fact that I can share my skills and information with a very mass audience at an affordable price, because there's so many people who can't travel here to England to our academy. And there's also, when I go to people's countries, there's also people who can't even afford to go to where I am in their own country. However, the online market opens up all corners of the globe at such an affordable price. You know, it's fantastic, you know?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna jump into a question actually that we got in. I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. It was Zael67. She wanted to ask you: barbers begin their career at age 15. How realistic is it to work in this industry until old age? And actually, it's quite interesting because what we were just talking about a second ago.
Yeah, you know what, man? There is a guy called Tony who is in our city, and this guy, he must be 65. Maybe 70, and he is still going, man. He is still going. And I usually go to a coffee shop right opposite his shop, and whenever I grab my coffee, I'm sitting there reflecting, thinking, this guy has passion. You know, he probably doesn't need to be there cutting hair, you know, making money, but the reason he's probably doing it is more so for the cognitive skills that keep him going, because he's passionate about something in his life. It gives him purpose. And if I don't, you know, listen, needless to say, I want to be able to choose whether to work or not. And that's probably what he's doing. He's choosing to work because he has a purpose that he offers people. He offers people this service, which is so much more than just a haircut. And this brings me on to thinking about what's going on right now and the fact that we are non-essential. Non-essential. Can you believe it? We've had no guidelines about the 4th of July. Come on.
I know.
Are we really just people that cut hair off head? I don't think so. We do so much more than that. We know that. And one thing that I said, and I said it yesterday, is the fact that, look, we help people's sanity. It's not just about vanity. And that's something that we should all consider and push for, because we know that in mental health, we offer people so much more than just that haircut.
I'm with you, man. Yeah, it's true. There might even still be logged on. I think I saw someone who I used to work with before, and you know, we used to do a lot with you know, calm and mental health groups, because it's so directly affected from barbers to the common public, man. I remember there was I saw it on the BBC. There was this thing about, this was way before like calm was big, and there was a thing where they wanted to get barbers to be trained to be identified, to be able to identify men who were looking like they were going to maybe commit suicide,
Mm.
and then they would train them and then be able to refer them on. And I mean, and that was massive. I mean, for them to pick barbers, because they could have picked into any industry, and they wanted to start with barbershops. I thought that's a great example, indication as to how important we are in that community, man.
Of course.
Perfect
We,
example.
we are basically the step before going into counselling. We are a no obligation ear that people can, you know, liaise with about anything. That's what we are. We take on people's problems that, you know, we provide with the haircut as well. And you know that Tom Chapman is one of the founders there of the Lion Barbers Company,
Yeah,
or whatever. And he's doing such a fantastic job, man. It's incredible. You know,
it
and
is, man.
it's just little things like that which we could introduce to our industry that will help us come out of the non-essential category and go into the absolute essential category should this whole thing happen again in October, November, December, when we hit the flu season again. Why on earth are we not coming out of this non-essential? There are shops opening up on the 15th of June that are non-essential. If they're non-essential, what on earth does that make us? Does that make us non-important?
Do you think, I'll tell you what, I'll throw something from left field here. So do you think it's because obviously we connect with people physically, so we can't social distance?
Of course.
And barbershops aren't set up to social distance either, technically, unless you've got a huge shop. So do you think, I do sometimes give that for food for thought, because as a barber, as a business owner like yourself, my first thing is, what do you mean non-essential? Especially like, you know, when you've been in it for so long, like we have and whatever, and it's it's your livelihood and your passion.
Of course, we're touching people's hair. We're you know, we're in a close proximity of people. But what have we got to prevent that? We've got masks, we've got gloves, we've got these shields, we've got so many different things. So why is it not in place? Because everything else in Europe is up and running. So what's the crack? You know, what are we waiting for? You know, I tell you what it is. We're just not as important in the eyes of our own nation. That's what it is, which is not important.
That's interesting. Okay, I like that. I think going back onto the question that was asked about how realistic is it they can work into their old age. I'm wondering now, what are they thinking more about physically, because we've got a physically demanding job, and you know a lot of barbers, especially more of hairdressers, start developing carpal tunnel problems with their backs, shoulders, which is a real thing. It is quite a demanding thing, and everyone's body is different. What do you think about that aspect?
Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it comes down from education as well. You know, you have to be educated about your posture. You know, you're entering this industry. Why is your body not a part of the essential education? You know, and that's something that we deliver here, is how important it is to look after your body, not only physically, but obviously mentally, spiritually, emotionally, as well as actually how to hold your body. You know, if you look after your body now, your body will look after you later. And that's something that we believe in as a philosophy here at Menspire Education. And it's about these 4 reservoirs of energy that we tend to talk about that will enable people to understand. And that ultimately only comes from education. So if you join this industry and you don't know about these 4 reservoirs of energy, how can you expect to have a sustainable career? You get to 40 odd and you're like, you know what, my back is done. Yeah, of course, because you haven't been doing the right things for the last 20 years of your career. So how can you expect from 40 to go on another 20 years in your career? It's all about education. Education is the key to success, is the key to progression, and progression is the key to success and happiness. And it keeps going around in these circles. What do we want? What do you want? What do we want? What do I want? We want to be happy, right? How do you do it? Well, ultimately, we know that when you progress with anything in life, it doesn't matter if it's work or personal, progression ultimately increases your happiness, because it gives you that serenity, that joy, that fulfillment that you are constantly improving. And that's what we want from all of our staff and all of our industry as well, is the fact that when we walk to work, we want to be inspired, and when we leave work, we want to be fulfilled. And that's it.
Yeah, I like it, man. Something I was working on was something that you touched on, which is there isn't actually a lot of knowledge on posture, what you should be doing stance-wise, how to protect your body from working a long time in this industry. I contacted a couple of people. I won't mention the governing body's names, because it's not their fault as such. But they don't have anything that they could have sent me. I said to them, you know, I'm looking after a huge group of people, barbers, hairdressers. Can you send me anything that I could relay on to them to
Nice.
give them knowledge and educate them? Because I know, I mean, I come from a family of hairdressers, and I know the physical problems that you can get later on. Even myself, because I've got a big dance background, so I got pains everywhere. So every day is a struggle for me, really. So you've got to really look after yourself. So I'm working on something at the moment. Actually, I might message you about that, see what you think. Maybe
Yeah,
we can connect something together on that. But there's nothing out there really. I haven't seen a manual, a proper one, or anything.
yeah.
Or have I missed it? Have you seen
Well,
anything?
well, we've got a lecture that explains a few different variations about how to use your hands, your elbows, your wrists, your back. And again, this is why we're constantly innovating in our brand, because we want to be the people to go to if you want good education, solid information, information that can give you a sustainable and fulfilling career. And you know, every time we see something that is non-existent, we try to create it, and that's how we continually move forward and remain sustainable. And that's what we want as a company, is the fact that, look, it's not about Josh Lamonaca, it's not about Samuel Palmer, it's about all of us collectively as a team, and that team is a reflection of the industry. And it's for that reason why we didn't say, you know, let's call it Lamonaca Palmer Salons, or we didn't call it Menspire, we called it Menspire, because it's about everyone, it's plural. You know, it's about a collective industry of men's hair, and how we can grow together and how we can develop together. Because if we can develop together and build this culture of education that people can thrive off and learn, then ultimately when we learn something new, we can increase our prices. If we can increase our prices, we increase our value. If we increase our value, guess how our standard of living looks? So much better. And that's the ultimate goal.
You actually hit a question that I wasn't going to ask you, but I think you're the right person to ask now. How do you think we get barbers to earn more money in terms of salaries going forward? And is it, I'm going to preempt it and say, is it just a fact of getting everyone to basically raise prices? But they have to obviously raise the value they're given.
Exactly. Listen, you might be able to do a fantastic haircut, perfect skin fade, nicely textured, accurate cut. But if you're not giving the service, you can't really be a representation of putting your price up. It has to be the whole package. Now, there's a lot of difficulty when it comes to people trying to raise their prices. They say to me, Josh, I'm going to lose my clients if I put my price up by £5, by £2, whatever. I'm going to lose my clients. I'm not sure if I can afford to do that. But ultimately, what that comes down to is just a simple lack of belief. That's all it comes down to. Of course, there's education as well. You have to educate yourself in order to grow, and if you grow, then ultimately your belief system starts to increase. Once your belief starts to increase, you're going to increase your clientele. Once you have a demanding clientele, only then can you put your price up. You can't put your price up if you're not a fully booked stylist. It doesn't make sense. But first and foremost, you have to put yourself in the right order. The more you learn, the more you earn. It's that simple. Why do you go and get education? You don't get education because you want to do better haircuts. No, you do education because you want to do better haircuts. And if you do better haircuts, you can charge more money. Do you see the cycle? And once you can charge more money, guess what? You're going to feel 10 times better. Why? Because if you have more money, you can look after your family easier. You can do much more charity. These are the sort of things that money gives you. Money doesn't necessarily give you the happiness, but it does give you opportunity to do good. And that's the prime example why we should want to increase our prices. Not because we want to charge the heck out of our clients. We want to utilize that opportunity to help others and help ourselves.
I like it, man. There's so many, like, I'm gonna get loads of those in the teaser video that I'm gonna make out of this. So to earn more, you have to learn more. And I got the same philosophy with you on why it's good to earn more money for those reasons that you said. And I think when you don't do it for those reasons that you said is when you actually don't really make more money. Funny enough. We're almost running out of time, so I want to squeeze a couple more things in.
No
Thanks so
problem.
much, by the way, because I know this is
My
quite a
pleasure.
long one.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Charity. Talk about charity because as an industry as a whole, again, especially in hairdressing, modern day now, barbers are way better at it. We do actually raise quite a lot of money for charity and we do a lot of stuff, which I think that we should be doing more of, all of us, including myself. Now, this is actually what we spoke about earlier, something that you did recently, which was the fasting. So tell me a little bit about that and any other kind of charity things that you think are going on and what
Yeah,
you think
sure,
about it.
sure. So, you know, philanthropy is a big part of what we are as a brand. You know, it's such a, again, if we go back to the four reservoirs of energy, it's the spiritual part now. And, you know, there's no greater feeling internally of gratitude other than by doing charity and doing good deeds. And it's one of those things, that is not empirical. You can't see it, but you know the feeling. You know, and I refer to something like the pain receptors. Look, if I punch you in the arm and you say, "Ow, that really hurt, Josh," you're not going to be able to prove to me that you're in pain because I can't see it. And it's the same thing as giving to charity. Look, your left hand, you go and give, you know, £5 worth of charity to a family that don't have much money. All right, you might not see, you know, how good it is, but you'll definitely feel it. And this is something that we want to encourage not only us in our brand, but also the industry as a whole, because, you know, we believe that humanity is something that we should all be proud to be a part of and collectively help each other. So we have been fasting the month of Ramadan during the lockdown. And it's the first time that I haven't been away and I've been at home and I've been able to concentrate and do the full 30 days. And with everything going on socials, I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity. This is a great opportunity to let others know how fasting makes you feel. And the fact that people out there don't intentionally fast. They are not able to eat because they don't have the money. You know, whereas us, we're making a choice to fast for the benefits of our health. But there's other people out there who, that's not their intention. That's just everyday normal life. So I wanted to do something that was able to build an awareness for this particular famine and poverty. And we have one of our managers is from Bangladesh, and he has multiple family, friends, or members of community in Bangladesh where, you know, they're in that position where, you know, on a daily basis, you know, they're not able to, you know, find food every single day. And it was just a small, a very, very, very small opportunity to gather people, raise awareness, make some money, and send it, you know, to 100% of where we know it's going to be actually used properly. You know what I'm saying? So we do many things with inside our brand, you know, including orphanages,
orphanages, yeah, orphanages, yeah.
Orphanages over in Africa, where we've actually been, and we've actually taken some of our team over there to see it firsthand. So it's fantastic. You know, if anyone is listening to this and thinks, you know what, I could do something like that, then go for it. It will never let you down, and it's something again that you will feel good for. You know, not in an ego way, in just a human way. You know what I mean?
And as a testimonial, did you see the smile on Josh's face when he said, and we went over there and we saw them? Like, it's incredible. When you do it, you feel so good. Yeah. It's so nice to do, man. It's important for us. We have such, yeah.
It's one of them things, man. Like I don't really like talking about what we do for charity and stuff like that, because I don't want it to seem like it's, look, this is what we do and what do you do. But I feel like now that God has given me this platform of opportunity to speak to a mass audience, I feel like this is a great opportunity for me to spread the message that, look, if you can do something great, do it for the people, not for yourself. You know what I'm saying? And expect nothing in return. You know, and this is it.
I think when you're using what you're given to give to everyone else, you're going to get way more of it. I truly believe it. I think that's why you're on a good path there, Josh. Now, I'm going to ask you quick fire questions. I want a really quick answer to these, because otherwise we're going to get cut off because of the time limit on the video.
Cool.
So, all right. State registration or no state registration?
State registration.
Yeah, visa registered. Okay, cool. Lamonaca, where's your ethnic background from?
Italian. English.
Oh, it's Italian. You say, ah, cool, okay. The guy you mentioned earlier, Tony the Barber, is he the Greek Cypriot dude in North London?
Nah.
Ah, okay, there's
Italian.
another guy.
Italian guy.
Ah, there's another guy, Greek Cypriot dude. He's probably the same age, if not older, and he still does the same.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah, same. And there's another old guy, actually, a friend of mine's father-in-law called Andy in Southgate. You might know Andy Barbershop in Southgate. Andy's.
I'm not
Around the
sure.
corner from Hobbs. But
Oh, one second.
we've lost. No, no worries.
There we go.
He's another guy. I think I don't think he's done it. I don't think he does it for the money. I think he does it because he loves it. He goes in there.
Oh, that's
He
great.
won't. I think he's one of these people that he probably would have been so peed off at home that he had to shut his shop.
Oh.
He's like the first one in every morning still.
Imagine.
Josh, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Anything mentioned? Anything going on?
Nah, all good. Just, you know what?
Look below, there's going to be links to the Menspire website, stuff that Josh is working on at the moment where you can find him, his education platforms and so on. And if you like the video, please put a thumbs up because no one does it, but everyone watches it. And please hit subscribe. Josh, God bless, man. Look after yourself, okay?
Take care, my friends. Stay woke. God bless.
You too. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.